Welcome to Pratidhwani, where we try to humanize science. I'm your host, GV Pawan Kumar. Pratidhwani is a non commercial, open access podcast. You can access it from various platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and other related platforms. The audio is also available on my lab's YouTube channel, and the links can be found in the show notes. Now to the introduction of my guests. It is my pleasure to welcome E. Arunan. Arunan is a physical chemist and a professor at the Inorganic and Physical Chemistry Department at the Indian Institute of Science, Bengaluru. Arunan and his group works on various important aspects related to spectroscopy, and he has been one of the pioneering spectroscopists in India who has not only built some very fascinating instrumentation but also has utilized it to probe molecular structure, which has relevance even in astrochemistry and other interesting areas of science. Arunan is also an outstanding kind of blogger. He has been very active in the social media, especially in the terms of expressing his opinion by writing very interesting articles, both in terms of blogs and also in general articles, including publications in current science and other platforms. In this episode, we discussed about his biography, his experience in growing up in Madurai, and his journey from Madurai American College as an undergrad to PhD in America at Kansas State University. We specifically discuss his thoughts on learning science in mother tongue, and he eloquently describes his experience in studying science in Tamil medium and how he made a transition and translation into English, and it's a very fascinating story. We further discuss some aspects of Indian academia and the process of evaluation which we use in Indian academia. Some criticism, some particular thoughts have also been discussed in this podcast. Arunan tells us about how the process of science need not be overtly competitive. Instead, it should be and it can be collaborative in nature, which really leads to some very interesting achievements within the framework of whatever is available in Indian research community. Also, we discuss his interest in blogging and Tamil poetry. Tirukurals is one of the famous Tamil poetries which he is also very interested in. And of course, there is a nice segment in Tamil in which he recites some poetry and translates them to English for us to understand better. Importantly, he critically looks at the poetry itself and highlights some of the negatives and positives of the times in which they were written, which is an important aspect for us to reflect on, and has very interesting discussion on that. Overall, it was a wonderful conversation, and I encourage you all to explore the links in the show notes, which will be linked with this particular episode, to know more about Arunan and his work. I'm sure all of us will benefit from his thoughts and learn something interesting and obtain new perspective on science and life itself by listening to what Arunan has to say. This is Pratidhwani, where we try to humanize science with E. Arunan. Good morning, Arunan. I am delighted that you are able to join, and welcome to Pratidhwani.
Well, thanks, Pawan. Thanks for the invite. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, yes. So we'll start with your own biographical kind of details. Please tell us how you became an outstanding physical chemist, and tell us your journey about how you got interested in science right from the beginning, please.
Yeah, in fact, I come from a family where my father stopped with high school because his father passed away and he had
Okay.
to support the family. And my mother was stopped at high school, even though she had a state rank in the school final exam, just because
Wow.
she's a woman, no other
Yes.
reason. And they got married, and my father somehow decided all of us should become at least a postgraduate. We had
Wonderful.
four sons and two daughters,
Mm.
and like my mother, my two sisters were promptly married just when they started doing their BSc or something. We didn't let them
Sounds
complete.
okay.
But all the four boys eventually became post graduation. My one of my brothers an MBA, another brother's an MCA, one brother's
Wonderful.
an MTech, and somehow I started doing science. From
This is all in which place? Which place?
I was born in Madurai, a
Uh-huh.
small place called Talaglam. Some of you
Hmm.
may know American College, Madurai. It was
Yes.
walkable
Yes.
distance from my place.
Wonderful. Hmm.
And I had curiosity always, and I had a mind of questioning everything from the beginning. Not
Okay.
just about what I observed, the people's behavior. Sometimes I was questioning all the time. So that probably became my nature. And as it was common those days, my father wanted me to become a real doctor, not the PhD one, but
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
doctor. And I somehow had no interest in biology at all. And the only qualification I may have had for a doctor is that my handwriting is mostly illegible. So you can imagine I can't draw anything, but I really didn't know what I wanted to become. My
Okay.
father said, "You become a doctor." So I said, "Okay." But I was really good in maths, high school maths.
Mm,
I
mm.
rarely missed a centum, if you know what that means, getting 100 on 100.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I
Yes.
used to brag about it also. And before the maths exam, I will go watch a movie and tell them tomorrow I will get a centum. And usually,
And you did it.
most of the time I did it. And in general, arrogance is not good, isn't it? I found
Yes.
out in the school final exam, the only exam in which I missed the centum.
Oh man. Nevertheless, you probably would be close to that.
Yeah, I was close, but it was, I realized it's not. But anyway, I was
Yeah.
really happy with my abilities to do maths, and my
Mm,
teachers were very impressed with that also.
mhm.
The time I was doing my high school, I was the last batch of 11 plus 1 in Tamil Nadu.
Wow.
Tamil Nadu
Okay.
didn't join plus 2 yet.
Hmm.
I was the last batch of 11 plus 1. As I told you, one mark, my younger sister was in the 10 plus 2, 1 year
Yeah.
younger than me.
Hmm.
So we were
Hmm.
both writing the school final exams.
Hmm.
And she had 25 marks more than I had. But as I told you, because she was a girl, we promptly got her married. If not, maybe she would have been talking to you today. Anyway,
No,
I,
that is something which is because we will of course discuss more about the trajectory, but I
mhm,
want to pause and also ask, that notion of importance of education,
mhm,
even among people who might not be educated,
yeah.
is something deeply rooted in a lot of families across India.
Mhm.
And you may want to just elaborate a little bit about your parents, why they felt that education is so important.
Actually, the one thing about Tamil Nadu in particular, as I said, it's all over India.
Yes. Yes.
Everyone likes to get their kid educated, but this is just not recent. Because I may have mentioned about Tirukural. Always,
Yes. We'll
it's
come to that. Yeah.
yeah. The most important thing is education. Among
Yes.
all the
Yes.
wealth you can possess, education is very important. And in India, particularly, of course, history is a very difficult subject to learn and do. There are always perceptions.
Mm,
But
mm.
we need to have this varna or caste or something that allowed some groups to study and other groups not to study.
Okay. Okay.
Particularly, the term used was Sudras. I don't know who is a Sudra now.
Mm, yes.
They were
Yes.
the top three, they will say, could get educated, others should
Mm,
not get educated, the fourth and fifth.
mm.
I don't really know. In general, they will say it's very difficult to retrace our past.
Yes.
But I
Yes.
may
You're
have
right.
been in the top three, which is probably allowed to study, or I
Mm.
was in the fourth. But either way, in our family, there was not much education.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't know if you have to blame the British or Mughal for it. Somehow, whatever system we had for education was stopped, and the new form of education came. I may have written about this before. C.V. Raman's
Yes.
father was the first to be educated in his family in the modern education.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he insisted that everybody should be educated, and he encouraged C.V. Raman to study. So
Hmm.
in the time, I think everybody realized education is important. And my father, as I told you, he had to stop with his high school, and everybody realized education is important. So he kept emphasizing the importance of education. And
Nice.
as he told me, he wanted me to become a doctor.
Hmm. Hmm.
One thing, let me go back to the 11 plus 1.
Hmm. Hmm.
Pre-university it was called. The
Yes, you're right.
pre-university you had to choose three majors, not four like now, PCMC or PCMB. So I had to choose physics, chemistry, biology.
Oh,
And
okay.
maths
Okay.
was not there. I still feel handicapped missing out the maths in that pre-university. And as I told you, my I was not interested in biology at all. My
Hmm.
handwriting was bad, drawing was awful. It was needed for the biology records, zoology, botany. But I scraped through, and in fact, I still remember the day of botany zoology exams. I did really badly. Was almost crying, and my sister used to console me. And, those days, out of these five subjects, 1,000 is the total mark.
Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
200. And if you get 600, you are a first class. Below
Nice.
600 is second class. Below 500 is fail.
Oh, man.
So I came
So
home
50% is passing.
passing, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And 60% is first class.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So I told my family that in the four subjects I am likely to get 600, so I will get a first class.
Uh huh.
But in the fifth one, I might fail.
Okay.
So I don't think I will get second class at all. It's either first class or fail.
Okay.
But then I realized our teachers have been asked to be generous, particularly in the
Hmm.
10th plus 2. And I got a first class in biology as well.
Very good. Okay. So that did not then go bad.
Far below what is required to become a doctor.
Okay. Okay.
For example, physics, chemistry, and biology, I had to have some, those days,
Hmm.
161 or something, and I had 150 or something to
Okay.
get into medicine. As time progressed in Tamil Nadu, it became close to 198 or something.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Bro, when I was a student, it was like 160, and I had only 150.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't become a doctor. Then I told my father my real interest is actually maths or physics.
Physics. Okay.
But American college said you didn't have maths in your pre-university.
Mm-hmm.
We can't give you maths or physics. But we may consider you for chemistry.
Ah. Okay. Okay.
And that's how I became a chemist. But eventually I drifted towards physical chemistry, chemical physics, and much of what I do in my lab now is done mostly in physics departments in India.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though all over the world it's so physical chemistry, chemical physics is what we call. So my
Absolutely right.
so I slowly drifted towards my real interest.
Mm. Mm.
But one thing about my family was that it didn't matter what you studied. Everybody emphasized studying
Very nice.
a degree.
Mm.
But once you finish your degree, go back and join the family business was the
Mm.
routine.
13. Okay.
Like all my three brothers are in business.
Mm. Mm.
Every cousin of mine, uncles, of course, the women are not in this, isn't it? They are taking care of whom. So
Mm.
all men, whether they are uncles, cousins, there's all of them joined some business or other.
Ah.
So
Ah.
I thought I will also do that because that's what everybody was doing it.
Yes.
I finished my BSc. Then during my BSc, it was really a transformation because in American
Mm.
college, one of my teacher happened to be an alumnus of the department in which I am the chair now. In our
Wonderful.
physical chemistry department at the Indian Institute of Science. He had come here to do PhD with Professor S.S. Krishnamurthy here,
In IISc.
IISc, in my
Okay.
department now. But he
Ah.
came here as a QAP, Quality Improvement Program, or FIP, they used to call Faculty Improvement Program. He was
Yes.
already
Yes.
teaching in American college.
Mm.
Took off for 2 3 years. He came here, finished his PhD, and he went to Georgia Tech to do a postdoc with R.B. King, I think. The R.B. King has written a series of books on organometallic chemistry.
Uh, okay. Okay.
And then he returned to American college to join the teacher job again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So first year of my BSc, he was not there. The third semester, second year, he came and joined. He started teaching us inorganic chemistry, and
Nice.
he had exposure. No, I didn't even know IITs and IISc existed at the time. And he told us about IITs and IISc, and he said we should all try. And of
Mm.
course,
Mm.
typical students of our time, we had lots of other interests other than studying.
As usual. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
and the discussion in the classes would be whether Kamal Hassan is better or Rajinikanth is better. Those days, 1979 to 82. And of course, I used to do all this, watch all movies, and still be a reasonably good student.
Okay. Okay.
So but we had sometime fought with the teachers, and then he would always say, I will give you a timetable, you follow that. I will even have
Mm-hmm.
2 movies per week.
Okay.
But and the other time you study.
Okay.
I
Okay.
follow this timetable. He kept pushing us. In fact, even during our BSc, he asked all of us to give a seminar, even though this is not part of the curriculum. He said
Nice.
it's
Nice.
important for you to learn and speak.
Mm.
And one thing I didn't mention is that I studied in Tamil medium until my 11th.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I
Interesting. Mm.
learned physics, chemistry, maths, everything in Tamil. And this
Wow.
pre-university was a really difficult thing because of the change in medium of instruction.
Mm. Mm.
Even though I could understand the subject,
Mm.
this change in medium of instruction and we have to write everything in English. It was difficult for me and people from my background. People who had gone to English medium didn't find this problem, but
Okay.
I had some difficulty. In fact, I will just share one experience
Mm.
with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
In maths
Please.
paper, I remember the pre-university final exam maths paper. I had to prove something which basically, I had to use the fact that opposite angles are the same.
Okay.
In
Okay.
some theorem, it's not about this. In some theorem, I had to use this. So
Mm.
I just wrote angle AXB is the same as angle CXD because opposite angles didn't come to my mind. I'm not
Ah.
talking about some Shakespeare English. It just most guys in India who don't know English would know opposite and angle.
Yeah.
Even those who don't know English, they would have heard this. But in the pre-university exam, I wrote because an opposite angle just didn't come to my mind. I started sweating and then finally I read Kuttadir Konangal Sarvasamam in Tamil.
Okay. Oh, you wrote it in Tamil.
Yeah, because I
Wonderful.
learned it in Tamil.
Yes. Yes. You're right.
because I just wrote Kuttadir Konangal Sarvasamam, which is opposite angles are exactly equal in Tamil.
Yeah. Perfectly correct. Just
It's
that the
correct.
language is different. Yeah.
Language is different.
Yeah.
After a minute or two, I just wrote it in Tamil. I thought, I am in Madurai writing exam. Everybody knows Tamil. I am sure that
That's
whoever
a
is
good one.
reading it will know. And I think I got full marks for that. But I'm just telling you this just to indicate how difficult it could be for someone in case they had not learned in English.
Yes.
I
Yes.
knew the answer, but I didn't know it in English.
English.
And it's not complicated English, just opposite. It's just that I was not used to it at all.
The terminology you are not used to it. Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I did, then our BSc, Professor PM Sundaram is his name. P.
Hmm.
Meenakshi Sundaram. He was a PhD from my department now. He kept emphasizing this. He said, you should give talks.
Hmm.
So in my second year and third year, we gave 2 seminars. My seminar, I used to remember Lanthanate contraction was one of my seminar. I had to read and present. And
Wonderful.
that year he said, I am going to form groups. There will be a leader for every group.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody should, every group should talk about one group in the periodic table.
Nice. Nice.
And I'm surprised now. By some coincidence, mine was carbon group and I was the leader in that group. So we had to read about all the elements in the group,
Mm-hmm.
those days, group 14. So we had to make a presentation and it really helped us. And then some 4, 5 of us realized we are just not able to converse in English,
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
be able to read and write
Mm-hmm.
conversing. So there was a library which was accessible to us all the time. We had the key for the college library also. So we used to sit in the library, lock ourselves in, and say only
Mm-hmm.
English for 1 hour,
Okay.
whether right or wrong. We just talk in English.
Excellent.
And slowly as he kept pushing us, 5 of us wrote entrance exam for IIT Madras. This used to be
Mm.
called CPA those days, Common Examination for Postgraduate Admission.
Okay.
This
Okay.
is this is before JAM. Every IIT used to have an entrance exam.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So he asked us to write that exam. I also applied to IISc because those days they used to have a BE post BSc.
Yes. Yes. You're right. Yeah. I kind of recollect this. Some people also telling me. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I wrote for chemical engineering. I didn't pass in that exam or I wasn't qualified. This is
Okay.
post BSc. In the IIT Madras CPA exam, that's a
Uh-huh.
really good experience for me because I was still a carefree student. I applied, and the previous night, all my cousins were going to an exhibition, so I couldn't
Okay.
resist. So I went with them.
Uh-huh.
In fact, on the 4 of us qualified out of the 5.
Wow. Wonderful.
I don't think it either ever happened before or after. From the
Mm-hmm.
same class, 4 people qualifying.
Yeah, to the next batch of course.
Next year, sir. In fact, we had 20 students in American college and 20 in IIT Madras BSc, roughly.
Okay.
Out of
Okay.
this 24 were common.
Nice.
And IIT Madras had students from all over India, even those days.
India. Yeah. Yeah.
4 of us were from American college. But I told you the previous night I went to the exhibition.
Hmm.
Uh, I didn't, because there was no coaching and all, I didn't even prepare other than the fact that I studied by BSc and learned all the subjects and wrote the exams. So the day of the exam was an interesting event. I had a two-wheeler which is called Atlas Solex. It was a briefly run model. The engine would be in the front.
Wonderful. Okay.
And it's difficult to ride. I used to pride myself as the only person who didn't fall down riding the toy. The engine is in the front. They stopped that model after.
Okay.
One of my classmates, Subramanian, his name, he was coming with me. I was giving him a ride.
Okay.
He said, I don't have a calculator. Can you get me one? I had a calculator. And another cousin of mine had a calculator. We lived in one part of Madurai.
Mm-hmm.
Go
Mm-hmm.
to another part of Madurai, which is almost somewhat going from north to east, and we had to go west or something. So I drove him to my cousin's place, got a calculator, and we are driving to the center. But in a
Okay.
signal, I stopped the two-wheeler.
Uh-huh.
The friend stepped down, and he was
Okay.
holding the hall tickets.
Oh man. Okay.
I was talking to him, and the signal turned green. I started riding. Except I didn't realize he was into.
Right. Oh man.
He must
Amazing.
have been shouting. I didn't hear anything. I just went to the center. I found he wasn't behind me, and I don't have a hall ticket also.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing.
I was, of course, panicking.
Mm, mm.
I came out. I was looking for him here and there, and this engineering college, TRH Engineering College, is just before a famous temple in Madurai, Thiruparangundram.
Mhm, mhm.
And this college has a detour, Most of the
Mm.
buses going to Tripurangundram will go towards this college and go back. And after the college opening time, we'll start going straight.
Stay. Okay.
So
Okay.
I was standing in that bus stop hoping he would come.
Uh-huh.
And the buses started going straight and he didn't come. So I ran in, I was sweating, panicking, and suddenly he calls me from the center. I am already here.
Oh man.
I don't know how I missed. He was shouting, Arno, I am here. So the exam had already begun. He was waiting for
Okay.
me. I ran in, I started 10 minutes later.
Uh,
I took some more minutes to cool off. And both
okay.
of us qualified.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Okay.
Both of us
I,
qualified.
uh,
So I did reasonably well, but I wasn't sure if that is good enough to qualify.
mm,
So what do I tell the family? Like I told after pre-university, I will either get first class or fail.
fail. Just the same thing. On the extremes.
I may make it, but I here they select only 25. They select
Uh-huh.
50, I may stand a chance or something like that. So, but we got through.
Okay.
And I still remember when the admission offer from IIT Madras came,
Mm.
I was really floating. Nobody knew about IITs those days in my family,
Yeah.
and I was the first to get admitted. And the whole family was thrilled. And I come from a really big family. My father and mother had 6 children,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It
and
looks
my
like a big.
mother
It's
is.
a joint family also.
It was a joint family.
Ah.
My chittappa, my father's younger brother, had
Mm,
four
mm.
children, and 10 of us used to live in one room.
Oh wow. Okay.
And because it was a really small house,
Mm.
if the 10 of us sleep, there won't be any room to walk. Like,
Mm.
you would just line up. That's how our family was. And my mother was one of 10.
Okay. Okay.
And each of them had children like this.
Okay.
So my father was one of four that was similar. And we
Uh,
had lots of people at home.
uh,
And we had really good relations also. Sometimes some from big family don't talk to each other and so on.
mm, mm.
But during my childhood, all of us had very close relations.
Very
And
good.
anything, this 50, 60 people will gather in no
Mm.
time.
Yes. Yes.
And I got the admission offer in IIT Madras.
Uh-huh.
But before that came, I was just roaming around after the BSc exam, just attending weddings, functions, movies, tours. Only
Okay.
everybody else went out, and only I didn't have anything to do. The others said that maybe I don't know if IIT doesn't come through. How do I do? Maybe I should
Uh-huh.
apply to Madurai University. I took out my
Mm.
bicycle. I thought I will go to Madurai University and apply.
Uh-huh.
Because in American college, my chance were very small.
Oh, was it very competitive then?
It was not really competitive. American college used to be very strict. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Oh,
one comparison I can give you is like West Bengal and other colleges now.
oh,
Getting
okay.
70 in West Bengal would be difficult.
Difficult.
Kerala, Tamil Nadu, you will see students with 95.
Yes.
In
Yes.
American college, they won't give marks.
Uh-huh.
And I had 71% in my BSc. This friend of mine was the first ranker, he had 80. But
Wow.
those days, until a few years before our time, American college would say BSc Special Chemistry.
Mm. Mm.
Usually, Mother University would add 7% to the mark we get for comparison to the others.
Others. Okay. Okay.
And that was stopped a few years before I started.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So most of the students from other colleges in Mother University would have more marks than we do.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
And they would have an entrance exam. They'll give 75% for marks, 25% for exam.
Mm-hmm.
And American college students struggle to get into American college for MSc because we'll have low mark in the
Ah.
BSc.
Mm. Okay. Okay.
So I thought maybe I should apply to Mother University. I took my bicycle out. I come out and the postman is there with the offer. IIT Madras offer.
Wow,
It was
wonderful, wonderful.
dramatic, and I thought, oh my God, great! I just left the bicycle. I have one more month to roam around. So finally, when the day came, I had to leave Madurai and go to Madras.
Mm.
I was scared.
Mhm.
No, as I told you, living in a really comfortable surrounding, no worries. There was always a number of people to take care of anything.
Yeah.
And four of us were going from Madurai to Madras, to IIT Madras.
Mm.
Among these four, I was the only one who had little bit exposure beyond Madurai.
Wow. So everybody was mainly confined to Madurai.
Yeah,
Mm.
others were somewhat less low.
Mm.
I had been to Madras once before. No, that's my experience. No, we were all somewhat scared. I
Mm.
still remember, believe me or not, more than 50 had come to see me off.
Wow. Okay. Send off.
The next send
The
off.
grants.
Send off. In fact, one of the uncle had brought some garland and all, and the big
Nice.
crowd,
Nice.
and the others were wondering what's happening, any MLA. It's just some family seeing of a boy to go to IIT Madras. But
Nice.
it was
Nice.
exciting, but the minute the train left,
Mm.
I felt like the earth caved in. I was really worried, so I told my friends, don't worry, I have been to Egmore before once.
Mhm.
In Egmore, those days autos used to come to platform
Ah. Mm.
because it was a terminus. It's
Yeah.
not like a junction. No,
Junction. Yeah. Yeah.
it's a terminus. And those days, autos, taxis will be in the platform.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
told my friends, Madras is a big city, dangerous place, but I have a plan.
Okay.
Get down, get into an auto, and go straight to the IIT campus.
Campus. Don't get a kind of
Don't get out anywhere. Those days, we are getting down, auto guys will come. Sir, come, come, come. Everybody will be coming and pulling you
Mm.
for
Mm.
passengers. The first auto guy saw, I told him, okay. And another guy was pulling. I told him, I already agreed to this person or something. And then we went into the IIT campus
Mhm.
safely.
Okay.
But
Okay.
staying in Madras and being in IIT, slowly it helped.
Nice. Nice.
And even though initially we struggled, and two of us did, but that Subramani did very well in IIT Madras as well. In IIT Madras, in American college, I was probably in the top three, four. In IIT Madras, I was somewhere in the middle of the class of 20.
Mhm.
But we did well. So, but my fear of going far away, I don't know if it's just fear or love and affection for the family. I didn't want to go far away.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, all my classmates were writing GRE and TOEFL. I
Mm.
decided I will not write. I was somehow, I didn't want to go to US.
Mhm.
And I was trying to maybe hide it with patriotism or whatever. I thought I won't go out kind of attitude.
Okay.
Now I think it was probably more of fear than anything else
Anything
at
else?
that time.
Nice.
Because even
Very
coming to
nice.
Madras was difficult for me.
Already a big thing.
It was a
Yes.
big step. So
Mm.
I didn't want to even try. But we finished MSc in 1984. GATE started in 1983.
Mhm. Mhm.
So one of my senior was the first ranker in GATE chemistry paper from IT Madras all over
Nice.
India.
Mm.
So as I didn't want to write GRE TOEFL, I thought I will write GATE. We wrote GATE and many of us qualified. In fact, five of us went to MTech from my batch,
Nice.
post
Nice.
MSc. My seniors, several of them went to MTech.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thinking back, I think that was a detour for me. There's
Mhm.
not needed.
Mm, mm.
Academically, that was not needed, but personally, it was very useful for me.
Very good. That was
Because
in Delhi, right? You went to.
IIT Delhi, yeah.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
the gate score I had, I could get modern methods of chemical analysis in IIT Delhi chemistry department.
Chemistry department. Okay.
The
Okay.
course was called Chemical Analysis and Control.
Mm.
To justify this word control, we had to take one course from chemical engineering.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, it was all in chemistry department.
Chemistry department. Okay. Okay.
Some who had better rank than me had gone to rubber technology, polymer,
Mm.
somewhat more technology, and my mark was slightly below in gate, but I could get into this course. Two of us, in fact, three of us got into this course.
Mm.
That course in IIT Delhi was a big letdown after MSc from IIT Madras.
Oh, okay. Okay.
We were learning something new, some more analytical chemistry. To be fair, I did learn a lot of analytical chemistry, radio
Mm.
analytical, electroanalytical, thermoanalytical, everything. There will be a course. We
Nice.
learned a lot of
Nice.
it, but it was somewhat easy. And with one of my friend, one of the three gone from IIT Madras felt really bored with this course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He applied to IIT Kanpur after a semester and went to do materials,
Mm.
tech
Mm.
and materials engineering. So he changed to IIT Kanpur.
Okay. Okay.
Two of us just continued with that course. I became an exceptional student, like
Mm. Mm.
9.88 out of 10.
Wow.
The second person had only 9.
You- a
And
large margin. Mm.
large margin, and MTech came with assistantship.
Ah. Okay.
So you were getting some 1200 rupees or something.
Okay. During that time, it's reasonable money.
Yeah, it was quite reasonable. It was
Mm.
slightly below what the PhD students were getting.
Okay. Okay.
So it was quite reasonable. In fact, I still remember sending my first pay to my mother. That's like a
Mhm.
salary kind of thing.
Nice. Nice.
I was happy I had money, and the course wasn't very demanding. So I went around Delhi. I had been to Rishikesh, Haridwar, Missouri, Agra, Madurai. I went around everywhere, and anytime I said I had a cousin in IISc Bangalore. Those days,
Mhm.
anyone applying for visa, they had to go to Delhi or Madras. Now you can't do it anywhere. So many of my cousins' friends would come to me, stay in IIT
Mm.
Delhi, and apply for. I had friend's friend, and somebody who just met them on a visa office. People would come.
Okay.
I met your friend. He said I could come and stay with you.
Okay.
But 1.5 year just passed.
Okay.
And I did a MTech project with Ajay Singh Brar from
Mhm.
IIT Delhi. He eventually became a vice chancellor somewhere. He
Mhm.
was a catalysis man, but he started doing NMR of polymers.
Mhm. Mhm.
But he came to IISc Bangalore. He spent time in our SAF,
Mm.
working
Yeah,
with
SIF.
Professor Anil Kumar Ketrapal.
Mm.
He did some summer, 2 3 months here. He learned some NMR of polymer. He came back to IIT Delhi and he wanted to start that field. He didn't want to put any PhD students yet because he was sincere. It's a new field for him.
Mm.
So he
Mm.
gave him MTech projects. So I did polymer synthesis and characterization by NMR with him.
Mm.
It worked out really well. I learned, in fact, we have a paper from that work.
Nice. Nice.
And this and the fact that I was getting 1200 rupees a month. And for a guy from Madurai, Delhi
Mhm.
and New York are the same.
Yeah.
They are both
Ex-
foreign. They are far away.
Language is different too.
Language is different too. Culture is different. It will take 2 days to reach Madurai. From Delhi you are not going to fly.
Exactly. Yeah.
New York you
And
have to fly. So it will take 2 days. So train Madurai, Madras, and then 6 8 hours wait or half a day wait, and
okay.
then
Okay.
Delhi to Madras to Delhi 1.5 day.
Mhm. Mhm.
It will take 2 days. So I realize if I can live in Delhi and I'm still surviving
You can go anywhere and survive.
in US. Honestly, this was my thinking. So I wrote GRE and TOEFL at that time,
Wow. Okay.
and being a top ranker and
Hmm.
helped. So then
Okay.
I got to some offers and went to US for my PhD.
Wonderful.
That's how it's ordered. But after MSc and MTech, I realized I cannot go back and join any business.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm completely unfit for that. And in
Mm.
general, I also never learned about money or business, just like a typical scientist.
Mm.
The
Mm.
only economics I know is that to spend less than what I have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly. Yeah. That's
I
more or
do,
less the kind of guiding principle of a lot of people. You're
yeah,
right.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
really can't do anything with money other than that. Yes, I will spend less than what I have. That is
Yeah, in one way, probably that actually gives you a little bit more semblance, right?
certainly.
Because uh, I understand there is nothing wrong. I'm not commenting on anybody who is really wanting to make money, but people who really are not interested in
Mhm.
making money. I'm not telling self sufficiency. I'm here talking about really making big profits, having
Yeah,
lavish life, and all. And that is actually an interesting and important viewpoint, because many a times success in society is just generally defined as somebody who just makes a lot of money
yeah.
that need not come with a satisfaction, right? That is a
Certainly. The only thing I would like to add to what you are
mm,
saying is that I know making money is important.
mm,
The one time, particularly scientists in India and all big guys from Rajinikanth to Donald Trump, they will say money doesn't bring happiness.
mm. Yeah.
Yes, I always quote John Wayne for them. You
Uh-huh.
know John Wayne. He has
Yes,
five
yes.
principles for life.
Mm.
One of that is that I know money doesn't bring happiness, but I would rather be sad in my BMW than in my bicycle.
Physical. Exactly, exactly. No, I understand. I totally understand the
You need to make money, but if money becomes the only goal, then you lose everything.
yellows. Everything. I agree.
It's very much like number of publications and index and everything.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. If you
Absolutely
have
right.
to work, publish your work, but don't work to publish.
Exactly, exactly.
This is very important because
Absolutely right.
in science, only good thing about science compared to religion or anything else is that it encourages you to reveal what you have learned.
Mm, mm. Absolutely right.
It
No,
encourages you
that.
to learn something, you reveal it to the world.
Mm,
Particularly in our society, we are very secretive. Many things will just go down with the family. They won't tell the neighbor. They won't-
exactly,
that's
exactly.
that's probably one reason we India as a whole went down.
Mm, mm,
In science, it encourages you to publish, it encourages you to tell others what you have learned,
mm.
and that's important because you learn, you tell, but don't do anything just for the sake of publishing.
Publishing. Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Now, that's what's leading to all the problems we are seeing now.
Mm, mm. So other in fact, this is a very important point what you're mentioning. See, this is also something always a concern for PhD students and people who are trying to make a career out of science or anything related to research. Let's say the concern, one of the things which we always hear by from PhD students, especially, is that if we don't really go ahead and do some work and publish something, because of the fact that the academic system is actually so dependent on this particular way of evaluation, they are concerned of getting jobs. And one of the aspect is to see to that they actually have some basic minimum exposure and also basic minimum research publications. So how should one resolve that? It's a very big concern among a lot of research students and postdocs, because see, we generally can tell, for example, you and me being now in a permanent academic position, it's slightly easier. In fact, even whenever I've told this to my students in the past, they sometimes say that, see, we are still on the other side. We are still concerned that we are not able to actually surpass that particular barrier. So how should one reconcile this problem, Arunan?
In
If you
fact,
have any thoughts, please
yeah,
let
I
us know.
do have some thoughts on it. I have thought
Yeah.
about it a lot.
Yes.
You are right. As I told you about money, if Rajinikanth says don't worry about money, that is,
Yeah.
he can even become angry to that statement. If I
Exactly.
tell a student don't worry about publication, it's the reaction could be similar.
Yes. Yes.
It is important. So that's why publishing is important.
Hmm.
But do the work and
Hmm.
publish. When the system now, I'm really, you may have seen, I have written in current science, I have written to
Yes.
people also. I was annoyed when the Swarna Jayanti application from DST or CSAR asked you to put the citation and impact factor.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That should not be done. And in China, they started giving money based on the impact factor of the journal.
Yes. That is also equally kind of.
Nature editor about wrote about it. This is wrong.
Hmm. Hmm.
The Fortunately for me, maybe I did PhD in a less competitive environment.
Hmm.
With my advisor, I rarely talked about publication.
Hmm. Hmm.
We were working on a problem, and I still remember very well completing 4 years. We had just written the first draft of a paper we wanted to publish.
Mm-hmm.
My parents had found a girl for me, so I'm coming home to get married.
Okay.
So I give the draft to my advisor and tell him I am going home to get married.
Hmm.
I had given a phone number just in case. Those days no mobile anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
One
Yeah.
landline number. And given this number, he can reach me if needed.
Hmm. Okay.
And my marriage was on a Sunday, and we are planning to leave Friday night. Thursday night, my advisor calls me for some clarifications about this paper.
Okay. And you're in US.
No, I'm in Madurai. He was
Oh,
in
you're in
the
Madurai.
I
Yeah, he
was
was
in
in the
Madurai.
US. Oh, he
He was in
calls
the
from
US.
there. He calls
He
from there.
calls from there.
Hmm.
So we had some discussion for half an hour or something. That's the first paper I wrote. Of course,
Okay.
after I written, it was published. We never talked about publications.
Hmm.
And those days, the authors, the PAs or professors won't write and send it to a journal.
Hmm.
They will send it to the peers.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
They will get feedback and they'll discuss and then submit the paper. So my first paper came in the fifth year.
Hmm.
Eventually, I had maybe 6, 7 papers from my PhD.
Hmm.
Four of it was published after I left.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And when I applied for a postdoc, I had maybe three, four, 3 papers, maybe two in print, one submitted, and a few more in preparation.
Preparation. Okay. Okay.
That's how I applied for a postdoc. I must admit, I keep telling students, whoever asked me,
Hmm. Hmm.
hard work and luck are important in life. And luck is not in your hands, so don't even worry about it. There's only one thing then. So you work hard, and fortune does favor the brave.
Hmm. Yes.
Sooner or later, things will happen. If something doesn't work out, doesn't matter. You keep trying. So during the PhD at Kansas State University, we had a requirement. I mean, the university had a requirement that is that every student should come up with a original research proposal.
Hmm. Hmm.
That should be different from the thesis
Hmm. Okay.
because thesis is advisors.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. The
Suggestions.
most of the ideas would be
Comes from
originating
the
from.
advisor, originating from the advisor, and you do, and you may think about something beyond, but it should be completely different from your thesis. And the committee should say this is different, like.
Different. Okay. Yeah.
So I was, in fact, I remember usually, every time you go on a trip, you take a few books or something to read, and you don't read and bring back. This is, but I was taking 1 week off to go to a cousin in Pennsylvania from Kansas. I took 3 issues of CPL with me.
That
Physics
is
lab.
your
Yeah,
that is your on trip reading.
on trip reading, not the trip I thought I will take it. Of course, during the vacation time we were just doing, but I thought I will read this in the flight. I had like long some change and everything. It was like I didn't
Mm.
read them. I
Okay.
mean, I was just reading through randomly. When I came back, I submitted a proposal to study lithium bond with a
Mm.
microspectrometer. Because hydrogen bond was known to everybody.
Yeah.
And being a chemist, if hydrogen can do it, why can't lithium is a
Lithium.
natural question.
Mm.
And some guy called George Pimentel, you may know him, he's from Berkeley.
Mm.
He was the first to basically create this matrix isolation experiments.
Mhm.
You
Okay.
can drop
Okay.
molecules in a matrix
Matrix. Yeah.
at very
It's
low
used in
temperature.
mass spectrometry also
It's
extensively
used in
nowadays.
many matrix
Yeah.
desorption they will put in.
Yeah. Matrix
In fact,
dissolved. Yes.
in new case, Vishwanathan in IISr
Mm.
Mohali, he was in the IG car before.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, he had established a matrix isolation setup. Now there are several groups. Tapas Chakrabarti also has one.
Okay.
Yeah. He was the first to develop this technique. In the matrix, he had seen, for example, lithium fluoride and ammonia, a complex of the two.
Mhm.
Hydrogen fluoride and ammonia form a hydrogen bonded complex, in which
Mm.
hydrogen from HF basically interacts with nitrogen from ammonia.
Mhm.
All
Mhm.
that. How that interaction is not well known. So chemist will put three dot at times saying it's a hydrogen bond.
Bond. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
something like that. So matrix isolation, he had looked at lithium fluoride ammonia and published a paper saying that this is a lithium bonded complex.
Mhm. Mhm.
Lee Allen from I think Cornell, I think he had published a theoretical paper on lithium bond. And matrix is only infrared
Mm.
evidence. Microwave can give the structure accurately. So after reading all this paper, I propose that with the microwave spectrometer, I will form this complex and study its microwave spectrum and study
Nice.
lithium bond. That was my research proposal.
Mm. Mhm.
And the good and bad thing about this research proposal during PhD is that it gives students a chance to think and come up with own ideas. That way, it's really good. But the bad aspect of it is that it's really difficult to do that because after your
Mhm.
PhD, when you apply for a postdoc,
Mhm.
no experience in that field.
True.
And for
True.
someone to hire you as a postdoc to do something you have no training on
Mm. Mm.
is not easy.
Not easy at all. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
I was somewhat determined to do this for my postdoc. So I wrote to only some 7, 8 groups that do this microspectroscopy
Mm. Mm.
with the hope I will get an offer.
Nice. Nice.
And those days, typically I'm sure many of us will have this experience, particularly Americans are very polite. They'll say, "Thank you for your application. Your record looks good. However, I have no money or
No.
what."
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
That's common.
Common.
Some 5, 6 replies like that, and one day a reply came from Herbert Gutowski from Urbana Champaign.
Mhm.
I was almost reading the same thing,
Ah.
except the second sentence was, "I do have a position."
Wow. Okay.
I was again thrilled, almost like the IIT Madras offer. I was
Uh-huh.
very happy. And Kansas State University, you may know, not many know that place. It's one of the state universities in the middle of the country. In fact, the university is very close to the geographical center of US.
US, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it actually is now quite renowned for some ultra fast experiments and other things, right? Nowadays.
They had some very good groups,
Mm.
but in terms of ranking that everybody's crazy about now,
Yeah, yeah.
in chemistry department, they were like 45 or 50 in the US
Mm,
those
mm.
days. And the only reason I accepted Kansas State offer was I chose universities that did not have an application fee.
No, yeah, yeah.
Many universities have $10, $20, $50 application fee. Few did not have fees, so I applied to only those universities that did not have any fees.
Nice, nice.
And Kansas State was the first to offer me. like the first auto guy I took from
Mm.
Central. This was the first offer that came, and I accepted it. After that, I got two or three offers. I think Vanderbilt, Manitoba, no, only universities that didn't have. But I accepted. I didn't think about it again. I thought I'll
Mhm.
go. In fact, Kansas State. This is another interesting experience that will be useful for that. There was one guy who was supposed to be building a solid state NMR.
Mhm. Mhm.
Joe Foxtellis was his name.
Mm.
Today I was doing NMR of polymers during my MTech. I was reading about this NMR imaging was becoming popular, which eventually became MRI later on.
Mm. Mm.
And zygmatography was a name which is not in use anymore.
Mm.
Magnetic resonance imaging.
Uh-huh.
And this guy, those days there's no website or anything. You have to send an application, pre-application,
Mm.
expression of interest or something. The university will send you a brochure by mail.
Nice.
This
Nice.
process will take 1 month. You send a letter to the university. University sends a brochure and application form by air mail. You open the brochure and look at
Mm.
all the activities. And this person was building a solid state NMR. He was going to do imaging and all. So I was very thrilled. NMR is very fascinating. You may or may not know this one. Yes, Subramanian in IIT Madras.
I've heard about it. Yeah.
He
In
was
chemistry department, right?
chemistry department. He's an
Yes. Yes.
outstanding
Mm.
spectroscopist and teacher. I
Mm.
had taken an advanced course in NMR taught by him. And I
Mm.
was doing
Mm.
this project with Ajay Singh Brar. And Kansas State University has this guy who claims to be building a solid state NMR.
Mm.
So I had to write a statement of interest. They will say, I think it's called statement of interest or something. You'd
Mm.
write something about why you want to do research, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Statement of purpose. Statement of
Yes,
purpose.
so SOP, yeah, statement of
Yes.
purpose.
Okay.
So I wrote that first Kansas State University. I ordered a paragraph about NMR and
Nice. Nice.
so on. And in fact, now that you tell me, I remember often we have to lie
Mm.
at times. When I was applying to summer research program in TAFR, during my after my first year in IIT Madras, only TAFR used to give a summer research fellowship this time.
Mm.
So I applied. I had to write a statement of purpose. So
Okay.
I told you my background: Tamil medium, Madurai, Madras. I wrote down something and I asked Narayan and Kurur, who is in IIT Delhi. He was a classmate of mine. KD
Okay. Okay.
Narayan, he had done outstanding work in NMR later on.
Mm-hmm.
He is from IIT Madras. His father was a professor in IIT Madras. He studied in
Mm.
Kendriya Vidyalaya in IIT Madras. So he knows things. So KD is how we call him. K. Damodaran is his father. You know,
Okay.
KD means
Yeah. In South India, KD means a different thing.
all of us used to call him KD and he didn't mind. But after going to America, he became ND Kruger because the
Okay.
first name, last name gets changed in it.
Great. Yeah. Yeah.
So I saw KD. I told him, KD, can you please go through what I have written?
Ah.
See if this is okay. I have to send it to TFR.
Mm.
He went through it. Arunan, it looks mostly okay, but the first sentence is somewhat confusing. I don't know what you want to say.
Mm.
I looked at it. He said, when I finished my high school, I had to choose chemistry. Is
Mm.
what I had written. And KD wanted to make sure I knew what it means. Are you saying you had to choose chemistry because you are so much in love with chemistry, or is it that you had no other choice?
No other choice.
I told him I had no other choice. I already told you.
Mm.
So, okay, if that's what you want to say, that's fine. So I sent that statement of purpose. I was not selected. I don't
Mm.
think the statement of purpose may have been the reason. It's
Mm.
just that I was also somewhere in the middle night in Madras. The
Mm.
top two students were selected.
Mm.
One of them was my other friend who was coming with me for the exam in the two wheeler. He
Okay.
was among the top. He and
Mm.
Nalin Pant, who is also in IIT Delhi now as a faculty.
Mm.
So Nalin Pant and the Subramanian got the summer research.
Nice,
Didn't
nice.
get, and that summer was really great because Madras had serious water problem.
Hmm.
So we had an accelerated semester. So the semester ended in 3 months. Instead of 2 months summer break, we had 3 months summer break.
Mhm, mhm,
And my application for the summer research project was not successful. So
mhm.
I had close to 100 days.
Wow. Okay.
Again, I had a really great time.
Mm, mm,
And we were supposed to give a seminar after coming back to Madras, but I wasn't preparing for that. I really had a gala time,
mm.
100 days in Madurai. So if the summer project didn't work out, just enjoy life. What can you
Yeah.
do? But when I applied for US, I remember maybe I shouldn't be that honest. I was trying, how can I, why was I interested in chemistry? It so happened one of my aunt was a chemistry teacher in a polytechnic.
Mhm.
So I just made up a story saying that my aunt is a teacher in chemistry.
Ah, good, good.
So I was,
Nothing wrong. It was still correct.
I, that was not a lie. My
Yeah,
aunt
that's
was
another.
a chemistry teacher.
Exactly.
That's how I started the statement of purpose.
Mm.
But the anticlimax of all this is that I go to Kansas State University.
Mhm.
I meet this Joe Paxtelis saying, I would like to do PhD research with you.
Mm, mm,
Then he opened a room that was probably not open for months or years.
mm,
It turned out he had stopped doing research for 5, 10 years.
mm.
And his previous student took 7, 8 years, didn't have any publication, no, which is
Oh.
important. And he had stopped doing research.
Mm, mm.
Brochure is printed every year. That was somewhat, in fact, I had a senior student from IIT Madras who was
Mm.
4 years senior to me. He was already in Kansas State University. He was a theoretical chemist. I was talking to him and he said, you went to Joe Paxley's and told him you want to do research? You shouldn't be doing that, man. You may have killed him. He doesn't do research. So then I just looked around,
Mhm.
looked at all the others. I was really excited about what Donald Setzer was doing.
Mm.
I don't know if you've heard about him. D.W. Setzer was the first to see excimer emission in the laboratory, which eventually
Okay.
became excimer lasers.
Lasers. Yes, yes.
Yeah. And he is like some of us. He is from Kansas. He went to Washington, Cambridge, and after finishing PhD postdoc, he wanted to settle in Kansas.
Mhm, mhm.
He was doing really great work from Kansas State University.
Yeah. Okay.
He used to be a big personality in physical chemistry.
Mm, mm.
Richard Smalley from, in fact, I
Yes, of course.
hosted him in IISc.
Oh, okay.
When we found out I was working with Setzer, oh, Setzer, he was a big. I heard many who really appreciate Setzer's work
It's
because
work.
careful measurements
Mm, mm,
that can be trusted was this. And he was doing infrared chemiluminescence.
mm, mm,
That's another technique which was developed by John Polanyi and he got the
mm.
Nobel Prize. So Setzer was using that to study dynamics,
Nice.
chemical reactions. And his write up was great, walking through, looking at how the atoms move.
Mm, mm,
I was very excited about that and I thought I should work with him.
mm,
So I went and spoke to him. He said, I'll be happy to take you. Then I asked him, I don't know where I stand in my PhD.
mhm,
Is there anybody else interested in working with you? What are the chances of my getting in?
mhm.
He said, you are the first and only student who has come and talked to me.
Oh my word.
Because at Kansas State, analytical chemistry was more popular.
Ah, ah.
Invariably, they finished in less than 4 years
Mm, mm.
PhD. Most of the students choosing physical or organic chemistry spend 6, 7 years. So, and physical chemistry now I realize it's not very popular.
Mm, mm,
And later on, somebody was saying if you are a good physical chemist, you go to Berkeley,
yeah, yeah,
PhD.
that's
There are many great physical chemists there. They won't come to Kansas State. I, so it turned out really good. In fact, Sanjay Vatagonkar, you may know from
yes,
TFR,
TFR,
he
yes.
was my senior in that lab.
Oh, okay, okay,
In fact,
nice, nice.
Balaji Jagirdar,
Yes.
one of my colleague, he did
Mm.
PhD at Kansas State University.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it turned out it had really great people. In fact, Setzer settled in Kansas mainly because of wanting to be home.
Home, yeah, yeah.
Look, gotten a job in the east or west, but he
Mm,
wanted to be home, and he had students from all over the world. He also encouraged, in general, students to get trained and go back to the country. Kind of.
country, nice, nice.
So that's how it worked out. And Gutowski offered me this postdoc.
Mm.
I had not known Gutowski at all at the time.
Hmm.
To be
This is in
honest,
Urbana Champaign, right?
Urbana
Ah,
Champaign. In fact, I did not know Gutowski, and I did not know he was running that lab because
mm,
it was Bill Flager who built that spectrometer.
mm.
Bill Flager, if you know him, he was an outstanding chemical physics guy.
Yeah, I've
His
heard
book
about it.
on structure and dynamics, which is really great. He was the first to do Fourier transform microwave,
Wow, okay.
and he was the first to couple that with the molecular beam, which I eventually had.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In fact, microspectroscopy, even Hewlett Packard built a commercial spectrometer
Yes, yes.
in 70s, 60s. But after 1970s, microspectroscopy was almost becoming dead field. There was not much oxen in microspectroscopy.
Mm,
So there was really nothing happening in microspectroscopy.
mm-hmm,
Flager built this Fourier transform microspectrometer and then he
mm.
coupled it with this molecular beam, which really expanded the scope.
Scope of the nice.
Then many labs started working on microspectroscopy again.
Mm.
In fact, Charlie Townes.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the laser person, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. He
Yeah,
comes
yeah, yeah. In fact, I've done a podcast on history of lasers,
really.
mainly on
Like,
Charles.
I met Charlie Townes once in Ohio State University.
Nice, nice, very nice.
His book on microspectroscopy was the
Yes,
first book,
first,
Townes
you're
and
right.
Shaw. Hmm?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he found the laser, in fact, it was called maser, as we know.
Maser,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
it was called maser because ammonia inversion,
Mm.
microspectroscopy. So I see Charlie Townes in this International Symposium on Molecular Spectroscopy.
Nice,
As
nice.
a postdoc with Gutowski, I started doing microspectroscopy only then.
Mm.
He's there, I am looking at him, but as a typical student from India, was
Awestruck.
hesitant to go and awestruck, and I
Ah,
was hesitant to go and talk to him.
okay, okay.
He realized I wanted to talk to him. He walked down to me and said, I'm Charlie Townes.
Wow.
That experience and what I see after coming back to India,
Ah.
the guys do some trivial thing and they can't talk to students as equals.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And
So important what you're telling. Yeah.
I was really. Then I told him, "Oh, Professor Townes, I am doing microspectroscopy with Herbert Gutowski. I
Ah,
bought your book."
wow. Okay.
Yeah, I heard the sales is picking up again. you know,
Oh man.
because microspectroscopy was pretty much on the way out. The
Out.
main
Yeah.
reason is that only gases could be studied,
Mm.
and most of the gases were already studied.
Steady.
There may
Yeah.
be something missing, but there is not much scope.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when Flaker coupled this with the molecular beam, we
Mm-hmm.
could see complexes like what I proposed to do, lithium fluoride ammonia.
Mm, mm.
Thought I will bring them together and then form a complex and study. That was my PhD
Study.
purpose.
Nice, nice.
Many things became possible: ions, radicals, complexes,
Mm, mm.
and it really expanded the scope. But Flake had an untimely death.
Oh, okay, okay.
He died really young, barely 50,
Mm.
50s. In fact, Journal of Chemical Physics had a first script for him after he died.
Oh, okay, okay.
It came in two volumes, two thick volumes. There are so many
Mm.
contributions. And Flake really trained many. All of them had come to Urbana Champagne, learned this technique, went back to UK, France, many and built everywhere.
Mm, mm,
He had worked with many, many groups, and after
mm.
his death, he would continue to see papers coming from Flager's lab
Triggers. Okay, okay. Wow.
with different authors.
Mm.
Flager's name will be there, and some
Yeah.
authors will be common, many, many different authors. So I was wondering who is actually running the lab now. Hmm? And Gutowski also had some papers.
uh,
And Gutowski was so big, he stopped putting star in his papers.
uh,
If you see a paper with Gutowski's name, you know who the corresponding author is.
correspond.
So he stopped putting star. So I see many, many papers with different authors.
Mm.
I don't know who is running the lab. And
Uh,
fortunately for me, one of my juniors from American college, Toy Monavan, who is
yes, yes,
hmm?
yes. Yeah,
Toy Monavan, he's been doing great now.
UMass. He's
Yeah,
in UMass, yeah, right? Yeah, that was
exactly.
polymer chemistry.
Polymer guy,
Uh,
supramolecular polymer
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
He's
supramolecular.
doing
Yeah,
some really outstanding work now.
yeah, yeah.
He was in Urbana Champagne doing PhD.
Ah, okay.
I sent a bit mail, if you know bit mail, before the
Yes.
email to him saying, "Dear Thai, I
Uh,
see that the person who built this spectrometer is dead,
uh,
but give me papers from this lab. Can you tell me who is actually
yes.
running the lab?"
Interesting, very interesting. Yeah.
Hmm? And then he went and saw, he said it's on Herbert Gutowski.
Uh-huh.
He's retired. He doesn't take any students now.
Uh,
He seems to be coming only after 11 or so every day.
mm,
And I don't know if he'll take postdoc. This
mm,
was,
mm.
I said, what the hell will apply? If he doesn't take, that is okay. So that's how I applied and got through.
Wow. Okay.
And what was really amazing is that Gutowski was a great name in NMR.
Mm, mm.
I didn't know.
Okay.
At Kansas State, there was another faculty in organic chemistry. He was asking me, so Arunan, what are you going to do next?
Mm, mm.
I'm joining Herbert Gutowski in Urbana Champaign as a postdoc.
Uh,
Gutowski!
mm.
Yet is.
Suddenly.
So I had no idea
Uh,
about
uh,
what Gutowski is before. Then I was thrilled. Then I find out I usually am an early bird.
yeah.
Everywhere I'll be 8 o'clock I will go.
Mm, mm,
I go to Urbana Champagne. His office is closed, lab is closed. I am just waiting 2 hours, 3 hours. 11 o'clock he comes.
mm, mm.
I already remember what Sai had told me about him. I was just beginning to wonder, did I make a mistake coming here? And he comes, and then another guy, Trigby Emulsion,
Mm.
been working with him. He comes. He also comes around the time. Then I had a really productive time in Urbana Champagne.
Mm, mm.
It so happened I was the only postdoc. He has
Okay.
taken only undergraduate student.
Nice.
Trigby
Nice.
Emerson was someone, if I say Trigby knows, it's a complete sentence. You don't have to say what.
What?
He was aware of many, many things, whether it's wild mushrooms or microwave engineering, he would know. And he was a PhD student in Urbana Champagne. He worked
Mhm,
with Larry Faulkner, if you know him, he is an electrochemist.
mhm.
And Faulkner became a president in Texas A&M, so he left.
Okay. Okay.
And Trigby didn't want to go to Texas.
Mm.
And Trigby knows everything. Of course, one thing he doesn't know is how to write papers, reports.
Mm.
He just won't do that.
Mm. Mm.
So naturally, his progress in PhD was not good.
Okay. Okay.
And he was leaving. Fleger had died.
Mm.
Gutowski was the chair at the time.
Mm.
Gutowski was getting tired of NMR.
Mm. Mm.
He wanted to do something new, and it's like 60, he's already 60.
Mm. Mm.
And he decides to start working in microwave.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Then I realized how he offered me, if you could
Mm.
start it at 60, why not a person at 30? So, and another person, young faculty in Urbana Champaign, could have naturally been the successor of this.
Mm. Mm.
He worked with molecular beam, but not microwave.
Mm.
He
Mm.
was a student of Y.T. Leaf, the another Nobel laureate who worked
Yes.
in Deadly Husband. So he
Mm.
had worked with crossbeam.
Mm. Crossbeam. Yeah.
Yeah, so he could have taken. In fact, he was upset that Gutowski didn't let him take the lab.
Mm.
Gutowski, being the chair, said, "You set up your lab," and he took over this lab. But now I can see that this is the best help Gutowski could have done to the young guy.
Mm. Mm.
Because if we just took over this and done some work, people say, "Oh, that is Flager's."
Yeah. Yeah.
And, but Gutowski can afford to do it at that stage in life.
Yes.
So and that is how things worked out.
Nice. Nice. You also wrote an obituary of
Yeah, yeah, I
Gutowski
wrote an obituary of him. That's it.
in current
That is
science.
it. I did. I did.
I have seen
In
that
fact,
very beautifully kind of
she said,
charted.
"No holds bar. Let me.
Mm.
I don't know if we can tell names,
Mm.
but anyway." When I returned to India after joining IISc, first I was in IIT Kanpur, then I
Yeah.
moved to IISc.
Yeah. So you spent just for the sake of clarity, you spent 3 years in Kanpur, right? And then
Five
you.
semesters to be precise.
Ah, okay. Okay.
5 semesters, and I used to tell this as a joke. I've
Mm.
probably done more teaching in Kanpur in five
Then
semesters than many years in IISc.
I see. Oh man.
But
Okay.
the situation is changing now.
Mm.
IISc has a UG program, two-year
Yes.
MSc program, and so on. But in general, IISc was not known for courses. We
Mm.
have outstanding people who can give great lectures,
Mm. Mm.
who are great researchers, but coursework was not
Mm.
a major thing. IITs are different, and I'm sure
Yeah.
IISer is different too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was there for 5 semesters, and then I came here in '97 summer.
Mm.
When I came here, one of my colleague was introducing me to a big scientist here.
Mm.
I won't name. And that big scientist was, "Oh, you are the Arunan. I heard you are joining IPC.
Mm.
What were you doing before?" In general, unless like this conversation, I tried to be very brief. So
Mm.
I did my PhD at Kansas State University with Don Setzer,
Mm.
and I did a postdoc with Herbert Gutowski in Urbana-Champaign.
Mm.
I was in Kanpur for 2.5 years. I have joined here. This is my brief introduction. I didn't say
Introduction.
anything else.
Okay. Okay.
And then, "Oh, Gutowski. I know him," I say. He's a great, he was the first chemist to do NMR. In fact, we brought him to India once. He came to Bombay for one of the NMR meetings. He's done really great work. And this person started telling
Mm.
about Gutowski.
Okay.
After he spoke for a few minutes, then I told him, "Yes, Professor. To be honest, I did not know all this when I joined him.
Mm. Mm.
After I joined, I found out one thing. It's almost like an insider story.
Mm. Mm.
The NMR spectrometer, he was the first chemist to do NMR. It was largely a physics.
Mm. Yeah,
In
it was
physics
kind of
also,
done mainly.
yeah, they were more interested in magnetic relaxation in water than doing
Mm.
spectroscopy with something like that. Gutowski realized the chemical shift would be important.
Mm.
Not only that, he was the first to see spin-spin coupling, if you know what it is.
Wow.
That's very crucial for structure.
Structure. Yeah. Yeah.
But he was nominated for Nobel Prize. I am sure my PhD advisor was also nominated, I think, for Alzheimer.
Hmm. Examiner. Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't get it, but later on, some say he didn't come up with a theoretical explanation for this. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
What I learned after joining him is that in 1949, Gutowski was giving a talk in American Chemical Society
Mm.
about NMR and its uses in chemistry.
Mm.
Varian was one of the sponsors. One person from Varian was listening to this talk,
Mm.
and after his talk, he convinced Varian that we should build commercial NMR
Mm.
because Varian wasn't sure if it will be successful.
Successful or not. Mm.
Now, this is like a real insider information. You won't see
Mm.
this anywhere.
Absolutely right.
He just narrated this to this professor.
Uh,
He stopped walking. Young man, I published my first paper in 1950. Don't tell me stories like this.
oh man.
I I wouldn't have told this story except for this. He started it.
Okay.
I thought I will tell what I had
Mm.
learned, what I thought others may not know. Mainly
Mm.
because the fact that I was there, I knew this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, at that time, my meeting with Charlie Towers didn't flash in my mind, if I remember, but
Mm.
you can see the contrast.
Mm.
When this person said that, of course, I can't continue the conversation anymore.
yeah. Yeah.
And it so happened we were walking in our campus. We had gone to a point when this person had to go this way, we had to go this way to get some coffee.
Mm.
Said very well, I just started walking towards the canteen. The person who introduced me to this person was in two minds. He didn't know if he should follow. I just walked off. After a minute, he came and joined me. But this, in fact, Narayana Murthy once made an observation.
Mm. Mm.
Ego per quantum of achievement is the
Mm.
highest in our midst.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was, this is the first meeting I have. I'm a young faculty who has just joined, and this person has achieved everything.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
didn't start bragging about me or Gutowski. Only
Mm.
after a few sentences that he spoke, I thought I will mention about what he knew. And he could not listen to this because this is, I see many who complain about this person also following the same footsteps.
Mm.
This is something I wrote another blog about it. This seems to be a general mentality for us. You are either at the head of somebody or at the feet of somebody.
Feet of her. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You cannot talk like equal to anybody.
Mm. Mm.
This attitude is there in our midst.
Mm.
But anyway, this is just good contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. No, in fact, see, that is one of the issues. There is also an aspect because now, especially in the generation in which we are now, going through, of course the students are irreverent in the sense they don't have any specific kind of they don't need to worship anybody in terms of professors or something like that,
Yeah.
but sometimes they also kind of mix it up with being disrespectful, right? Because that is a point, because there is some kind of somewhere central position what you can take. You can still be respectful of a scholar and need not be somebody whom you really literally worship, right? That is an important aspect to
See, this
looking
is
at this thing.
something our society has not learned.
Mm,
You know, I'm sure if you travel in the West, a carpenter and professor would be on first name basis.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Or a
You're right.
machinist, the professor will go and say, "Yes, Don, what can you do for you?
Mm,
I
mm,
need this thing, machine, Richard." Or they'll say.
mm, mm.
But the machinist knows he's a machinist, professors know he's a professor.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't mix up.
Mix up. Yeah. Yeah.
But here we do have this problem because many of us, like, Vasant Nadarajan is probably a great example.
Mm, mm,
After his died. Maybe one of your colleague wrote, or maybe somebody else. So it
Yeah,
wasn't.
his
Yeah,
student, Ayan Banerjee wrote a very beautiful
and
kind of.
beautiful thing. No, he said
Uh,
Vasant would not allow his students to call him as Professor
yeah,
Vasant.
yeah,
He
yeah.
would insist that some of us have tried that, but often students then think they have become your buddy.
Mm-hmm.
The way they talk, they
Yeah,
don't. Many of them don't know the difference. Calling me Arunan or you Pawan is not the same as your best buddies.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. You're right.
So this difference our society is unable to handle. I think Vasant probably managed it well.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, in many ways, he was a pioneer because I had a background in atomic molecular optical physics. My MSc was from Bangalore University, and there was a very strong emphasis on AMOP. And Vasant was somebody who was just setting up his lab then, and we used to hear a lot about this and many things. Yeah, he unfortunate that he really passed away at such an young age.
Actually,
Very,
it is really strange.
mm, mm.
These are things we don't know why, but we have to accept nothing else.
Accept. Yeah, yeah. True, true.
But Vasant was a great colleague. Vasant and I used to be in each other's students' comprehensive exam.
Yeah, yeah.
He was also building a molecular beam later on.
Yes,
We had a
yes.
lot of interesting. It was really great to have him when I joined.
Yeah. In fact, the legacy continues. I should mention because we have brought Vasant and you into picture. Your respective students are also, people who have set up very good labs in my institute.
No,
Pankaj and Umakant
yeah, of course.
are two fantastic experimentalists, and they are continuing the legacy of both of
In
you.
fact, I have emphasized to every student of mine, you should build.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely.
You're talking about the number of publications.
Mm.
It is important. We can't say it's not important. But thankfully, we still have in science
Yeah.
people who can tell the difference.
Difference. Very, very correct. Very correct.
For someone, in fact, in one of the articles or commentary I wrote in Current Science,
Mm.
I had mentioned this. For an auditor,
Mm.
if N1 is greater than N2, both being equivalents in money,
Yeah,
N2 is better than N1.
exactly.
Not for scientists.
Not for scientists.
And if this is how we are going to evaluate scientists, I can ask my daughters to do it. They were in school, they knew numbers by that time.
Absolutely. Absolutely right.
But I must tell you one thing, I know how long we should talk, but let me share this experience in terms of the indices that are affecting science and
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah.
Like money,
Yeah, before
any,
before you start, I should mention to the listeners that Arunan actually has deeply thought about this uh, bibliographic kind of econometries in terms of citation in aspects. I am anyway linking some of the references of his writing in current science and of course his blogs. I would urge you to also have a look at it. Yeah, Arunan, please continue.
in fact, working with Setzer and Gutowski really taught a lot. Because
Mm, mm,
Gutowski in fact, these two are really contrasting personality.
mm, mm,
Setzer didn't want to hold any administrative position.
mm, mm.
He just remained a professor. He didn't want to become chairman, dean, director, president. Gutowski held all administrative positions.
Mm,
Was the chair of physical chemistry, School of Chemical Sciences, in everything.
mm,
Gutowski didn't want to retire.
mm,
And Setzer thought old people should retire.
mm.
So he had to take VRS. Like in the US, retirement became
Yeah.
illegal. You can't discriminate anyone based on age
Mm,
because of
mm,
John Fenn's lawsuit. So they
mm,
were contrasting personality. Gutowski could do both, administer and do a good research.
mm, mm,
When he became the chair of School of Chemical Sciences or something, he thought there should be an objective way of evaluating scientists and rewarding
mm,
them. And he called the office. He told them, keep monitoring the citations of our faculty.
mm.
Don't tell me who is doing what. Then, based on that, we'll give some reward to the
Mm,
faculty.
mm.
He thought he didn't want to be involved. He wanted it to be completely unbiased.
And best, yeah.
Office people can just, those days it's not in a click of a button. You have to
Yeah, yeah. You have to really get, kind of.
go through the volumes of citation index. Yeah. But he thought he'll have the office do that.
Uh, uh,
And he also informed the faculty that I am going to do this, but I want to have an objective way of evaluating people and
okay.
also rewarding performances. Nobody will argue against rewarding performance.
Yeah, yeah.
You say, I'm going to reward performance, everyone, good
Yeah.
idea. So that was that. 1 week later, Harry Drickamer,
Mm.
if you know him, he is a high pressure. So he was the diamond and will sell was
And
probably his.
missile. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
He is a big name in high pressure chemistry.
Mm, mm,
He walked into Gutowski's office. He says, Herb, I am in a terrible dilemma now.
mm,
And what can I do for you, Harry? Say, I have received this paper for review.
mm,
I would have just rejected it instantly. It's just, I don't even know why they write papers like this.
mm.
But I note that he cited 10 of my papers.
Uh-huh.
If I reject it, how much would I lose?
Okay, okay. Very
Gutowski,
interesting.
he didn't answer Drickamer.
Uh,
He called the office and asked them to abandon this.
oh man.
The problem is that most people would like to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we have this kind of thing, it's
Mm,
difficult.
yeah.
The paper is not good, but you cited 10 of my papers. What do you do? Ideally, this kind of dilemma should not be there for anybody.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
in the real ideal world, this should not matter. You
Yeah.
just decide based on that.
Based on whatever is the.
This dilemma in the population,
Mm, mm,
many may do things that favors them.
mm, mm.
Ethically, morally, we know it should not be done.
Not be done. Absolutely right.
And human mind is something that it can justify anything.
Absolutely.
This the morality is a matter of convenience and chastity is lack of opportunity.
Mm, mm.
I forget who said this because at various level people start justifying, and it's difficult to write rules.
Yeah.
Once you say this is important, people try it. In fact, when I was in IIT Kanpur, I had an anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
One faculty who was a great teacher was really sought after, was really doing well,
Mm,
didn't get promoted.
mm-hmm.
And this person was somewhat shocked. He thought he was being a good citizen of the
Mm,
department, doing everything. Then he went to the dean and said, how come you guys didn't promote me?
mm.
But you have not published any paper. Oh, is that what you need?
No man.
And then apparently next day he published some 10 papers. The problem for a system is always this, in a Gaussian curve, if you are in the middle, it's easy.
Easy. Yeah.
If you have
Yeah.
only few papers, you don't know if you are trying to solve Fermat's last theorem or if you are not working at all.
At all. Yes. Yes.
So we cannot say publication is not important. It is
Mhm.
important, but putting weightage on the number, citation, these are all meaningless. They have
Meaningless.
really
You're
no
right.
meaning.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. In fact, one of the things, kind of a partial resolution. Again, this is something again up to discussion and other things. Is to actually lower the stakes of what is communicated in science. See, there is a lot of stuff in science which one does, which need not be always related to novelty and significance. For example, significance you can emphasize, where you don't need to have novelty. For example, I urge students generally to write about something which is slightly for a broader audience, or you
Mm-hmm.
can even write a review kind of article, or make a some kind of a blog or video or something like that. See, there will be a let out of the fact that there is some kind of a communication which is happening, because nowadays you can keep a record online of what you have done,
Yeah.
and anybody can look at the scholarship of a particular person by looking at these things. See, of course, I'm nowhere telling that this is a replacement for publication, but this
Mm-hmm.
can be an important addition. It also showcases the scholarship. Ultimately, what one is seeing is whether that person is doing some scholarly work.
Yeah.
For example, you have been very, very active on Blogsphere,
Mm-hmm.
where and not only just science, various things related to the society you really contemplate on. That is something I would also want to know a little bit more. What motivated you, to actually write about this, and how do you do that? What is your general
Let
process?
me tell you something about, because everyone has views. When you grow
Mm,
up, you have views. As I told you from the beginning, I was expressing it. In fact, one of
mm,
my auntie had an unsuccessful marriage.
mm.
I thought it's a family's mistake because they were getting her married to a rogue in a way who was already living with somebody.
Oh, okay.
Then I saw a Tamil movie in which we have movies and stories which glorify women.
Mm,
We even have stories like a woman carrying a husband to a brothel's house.
mm.
We are familiar with this. Sadi Anasuya is the name. It's there in our.
Uh-huh. Mm.
I told them this kind of glorification is only leading to this.
Mm. Yeah,
No,
because you don't need to really do that, right? Yeah.
you don't have to do it. Both parties have to be reasonable.
Mm,
So I have always expressed my view, but when I joined, as I told you, my interaction with Charlie Townes and this big
mm,
professor
mm,
in India, they were like contrast.
mm,
But when I started doing work, I didn't worry about any of this, to be honest.
mm,
Just an advice I can give to everybody. When you are young, trying to set up your life, or just focus on your work.
mm.
Do something, get a foothold.
Hold to exact. Yeah.
That's very important. Once you have a foothold, you can think about writing blogs or
Mm,
doing something to save somebody or city. This is important. If you do without getting a foothold,
mm.
it can be crushed without mercy.
Yes. Yes.
That's how the society system will function.
Function. Yes. Yes.
So if you and you are too, unless you are really you have abilities like Hercules or whatever,
Mm.
yourself.
Yeah.
That judging yourself is very, very important.
Important. Absolutely.
Many are unable to do it.
Mm, mm.
You should
This
know
is
yourself.
so true. So correct. Having an internal standard, right?
It
That is
is
something
very
which I have
important.
also been telling.
So when I joined, I wanted to build a spectrometer.
Mm,
Of
mm,
course, I had a family, I had two daughters. So I didn't worry about who is doing what, is somebody's
mm,
fabricating data, or somebody is taking funds and misusing it. I will hear about it, but I didn't
mm,
hear about it. I just wanted to get this done.
mm,
Because when the spectrometer was built, nobody believed it can be built here.
mm.
In fact, S. Subramanian, thankfully for me, he was in the DST committee. I had really bad experience when I submitted my proposal.
Mm, mm,
Submitting the proposal to build a microspectrometer. In fact, the title of my project was Pulse Nozzle Fourier Transform Microspectrometer.
mm.
I did not even put spectrometric studies and this, that, and all.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, I had pointed out what could be studied if the spectrometer was built.
Mm.
But the project is building the spectrometer.
Spectrometer. Okay.
And it so happened the PAC meeting was in IISc in IPC.
Mm.
So I had come from IIT Kanpur to IPC. to present my proposal. First 10 minutes, I was just bubbling with enthusiasm, saying
Mm.
that I will do this, that this has to be done. It's not. And then suddenly the chairman of the pack stopped me because I don't want to give names, but I can tell
Mm.
you. All right, Dr. Arunan, it all sounds exciting. How many papers have you published after coming to India?
Okay. Mm.
I was just, this is the first project I am submitting.
That's the first project you're submitting. Okay.
submitting. And somewhat coincidentally, I just communicated a paper to JPC,
Mm. Mm.
which is nothing about the project.
Mm. Okay.
I have communicated a paper, but it's nothing to do with the project.
Mm.
Then another person was saying, P.T. Narasimhan did not think NMR could be maintained in Kanpur.
Mm.
You are saying you will build a microwave spectrometer. How is it possible?
Mm. Mm.
I didn't know P.T. Narasimhan.
Okay.
I didn't know how I am supposed to answer this.
Yeah.
P.T.
Yeah.
Narasimhan,
First of all, you don't know the
I
person.
don't know him. I don't know why he thought. But
Mm.
only he didn't let IIT Kanpur guys buy NMR for long.
Mm. Mm.
And some say he wanted them to build and say whatever may be the reason. IIT Kanpur could not buy an NMR. They will always go to CDRA Lucknow.
Mm. Mm.
The NMR was bought after I joined and left
Oh, okay.
in
Okay.
Kanpur. I didn't know this history. How am I supposed to answer this? And another person was saying, Dr. Arunan, you are asking for lots of money.
Mm.
Which part of your project you can do with less money?
Yes, my usual question.
Yeah. My project is building a spectrometer. Which part of the spectrometer can I build? I was dumb. I
Mm.
was just staring at the committee, and then I don't know what else was being asked. I was just, all right, Dr. Arunan, you can go.
Mm.
I came back dejected. I was really down. Yes, Subramanian was in the committee.
Mm. Mm.
He met me at the lunchtime. He said, Arunan, you have a very good proposal. I will talk to the committee. What you are proposing to build a spectrometer. Let
Mm.
me tell you, I had built a ESR,
Mm. Mm.
Fourier transform, 9 gigahertz. I am planning to build from 2 to 26 gigahertz.
Mm.
He was doing one frequency. This was very tough. You put the project for 3 years. You can't do in 3 years. You should make it 5 years.
Mm. Mm.
Another thing is that it took me more than 3 years to get the microwave synthesizer.
Since okay.
Get it from the US.
To even just get it.
Get it. So I wish you success. It will be good if you build it. But remember, if you take the money and don't build it, that will be the end of your career.
Mm. Mm.
So you have to be careful. Thanks to Subramanian, I'll really try. And he said you should put an engineer as a collaborator.
Mm.
So the DST will be convinced. And then I was asked to submit again, and I had included if you know Matthias from NMR Center,
Mm. Mm. I've heard about yes, yes.
I spoke to him, I included him as a collaborator. Then they gave me more money than what I had asked for. Because what I
Wow.
had asked for, I was told you shouldn't ask for more than 50 lakh.
Mm.
I needed more than 50 lakh
50 lakhs, yeah.
because then I got, in fact, when I got the project, that was the highest support given to an individual at the time
Mm-hmm.
by DST.
Nice.
But it worked out well in the end.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, because then even getting through 50 lakhs was a big issue.
Yeah,
That was something which
I
was.
got close to 80 lakh after the,
Mm. Mm.
but
Yeah,
it took,
even the current cutoff is around that number now.
yeah.
Even the basic grants actually are of the order of that money.
So this is why sociology doesn't work in science. You should give money based on need.
Mm-hmm.
If Somebody is trying to build some terahertz spectroscopy, somebody is trying to do some synthesis. He can't give the same money.
Yes, yes.
Like this is where the people matter, people making decision.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very interesting. So we'll now kind of little open up a little bit more, and we'll just discuss a little bit about your own research and
Mhm.
also slightly broader context of research. We have already kind of discussed some aspects of research in India, but I'm
Mhm.
more keen on learning a little bit more about your current research interests. What
Mhm.
is your lab working on? And also one of the important aspect of hydrogen bonding, and also the classification of the bonding, what
Mhm.
you have taken very important initiative. Tell us a little bit more about that, so that we can know a little more on this.
Yeah, in fact, it started when Pankaj was a student here and his junior Mosmi Goswami. We were looking at
Mm.
ethylene hydrogen sulfide complex.
Nice.
One ethylene and H2S complex.
Mm.
Bill Klemperer from Harvard had looked at ethylene water, and he had shown that the OH from water points
Mm.
towards pi electrons in ethylene, and he had called it OH pi hydrogen bond. And we thought we'd look at H2S because I had looked at benzene H2S before as a postdoc.
Mhm.
We look at ethylene H2S. The reason is different. The one thing that everybody knows about water and hydrogen sulfide is that
Mm.
water is a molecule of life, liquid. H2S is a stinking gas.
Yes, yes.
And this is surprising in a very simple way if you look at chemistry.
Mm. Mm.
The molecules become bigger and bigger. They are either liquids or solids. Smaller ones are gases.
Mm.
I can give you real examples like, for example, hydrocarbons. Methane and ethane are gas. Propane, butane is actually what we get as compressed natural gas in our cooking cylinder. If you go to C5, C6 and all, they are liquids. Pentane, hexane.
Yeah, yeah.
Roll is like C8, C10.
Mm.
And if you go above C10, it's like paraffin, wax. The lower molecular weight gas, middle molecular weight liquid, high molecular weight
I
solid.
molecule solid.
And this is true for F2, Cl2, Br2, and I2. Fluorine and chlorine are gas. Bromine is liquid. I2 is
Mm.
solid. But when you go to water and H2S, water is light, small molecule, liquid. H2S is big, heavy gas.
Gas. Yeah.
And this was a puzzle. And of course, now we know water has this nice tetrahedral structure in ice. Each
Mm.
water
Mm.
surrounded by four. Hydrogen bonding is there. And Pauling, in fact, made a major contribution to hydrogen bonding. He was not the
Mm.
first to think about it, but he really made it popular.
Mm. Mm.
He talks about water and H2S. Water
Mm.
has this nice structure. In H2S, it has 12 neighbors.
Mm.
Each H2S is like a sphere. Geometrically, sphere is one possibility to have 12 neighbor.
Mm.
Water has only four. Ice floats on liquid water.
Mm. Mm.
This is very unusual. Usually solids sink.
Solids. Yeah, exactly. Mm.
Most solids you put in a liquid, they will sink. But ice floats in liquid water. So water is unique in many ways. In fact, Thiruvalur talks about water also. He says, "நீரின்றி அமையாது உலகு." Without water, there is no well. It was
Very
known.
nice. Mm.
Then why are they different was one question.
Mm.
Before that, Van der Waals equation was known. Van der Waals changed the ideal gas law because he
Mm.
realized molecules do interact with each other and they occupy some volume. So he just added two constants to ideal gas equation.
Mm. Mm.
One for correcting pressure, another correcting volume. The term correcting pressure is A. So he adds A n square by B square. The
Mhm.
term correcting volume is B minus NB, molar volume.
Mhm.
And that works for many gases. So all the interactions were called van der Waals interactions, van der Waals forces, van der Waals radii,
mm, mm,
But the difference between water and distillers was so striking.
mm, mm.
Chemists didn't want to use the same term for both. One thing I point out, physicists like to unify everything and chemists like to classify.
Classify. True.
So
Mm,
water became hydrogen bonded liquid.
mm,
And nice, the density is low. Liquid water must have more neighbor than solid because density
mm,
in liquid is high. In solid, there is only four. So when it liquefies, how many neighbors does it have? Naturally, it should be more than four.
mm,
Density is
mm,
more. But if it is more than four, how are they bonded now? In solid, you have the hydrogen bonds.
mm.
Liquid has more density. How is it bonded now? That was the question.
Nice.
Hydrogen sulfide solid had 12 neighbors. So Pauling said water hydrogen bonds such as van der Waals interaction.
Mm,
From Pauling's time, I find that anytime someone understands something, they give name. They don't understand van der Waals interaction. When it
mm,
comes
mm,
to molecular interactions, then when Pankaj and my the other student Mosmi did this work, we sent a paper to chemical physics later. That's an interesting experience.
mm,
When the spectrometer was working, my department was very happy.
mm.
They came to me, the senior professor came and said, Arunan, congratulations, it's
Mm.
working. Thought we should recommend you for out of 10 promotion.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Good. So how many papers have you published? I said, none. We are collecting data. And one of my senior professors was not even a CPL in a chemical physics letter. Unfortunately, not even a CPL letter.
Although CPL actually has Nobel Prize winning work published there, right?
Absolutely. But somehow, when we heard this result, I thought we'll send it to CPL. I don't know if this influenced me or not. So we sent this to chemical physics letters. The referees were very supportive. They
Mm,
said the work is well motivated.
mm,
Experiments have been done carefully. Data has been analyzed well. Paper is written well.
mm.
However, please don't call it a hydrogen bond.
Oh.
Because I had put SH by hydrogen bond in the title.
Mm,
This was the only comment. No, this is the first paper I am publishing after 5 years. My project period is 5 years. I have taken a lot of money.
mm.
Department decided not to give me accelerated promotion because I don't have a paper yet.
Oh man.
DST is not going to like if I don't have any papers. So I was not in any mood to argue with the referees. They have agreed. So I
Mm.
told them I changed the title to Bridging Hydrogen Bonding and Van der Waals Interaction.
Mm, mm.
That's how we published the paper.
Nice, nice.
But this comment made me really curious. Why are
Mm,
they particular about this? Then I really read the history of hydrogen bonding.
mm,
It started why people are so particular about this. I looked at IUPAC. They had a
mm.
definition which was really incomplete, if not incorrect.
Okay,
And
okay.
somewhat coincidentally, Professor Chandrasekharan,
Mm,
my
mm.
like, he was part of the IUPAC at the time. He brought the IUPAC Executive Council to Bengaluru.
Nice, nice.
India has all kinds of people. SCN is good. The sense he was very open. He was always talking to everybody. If some such event happens, he will invite everybody to the meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
There are other big professors who are very possessive. They will make sure you don't meet the visitor.
Oh
They'll
man.
go to any extent to. There are people like that also. But SCN was different. So he invited all the faculty from Chemical Sciences Division
Mm,
for a dinner with the IUPAC Executive Council. I spoke to the physical and biophysical chemistry chair.
mm, mm,
The definition IUPAC has is wrong for hydrogen bond.
mm,
He said, no, we have one. Then I told him, if you are free tomorrow, why don't you come to my office?
mm,
We have a serious discussion. He said, absolutely. He came, and after
mm.
the discussion, he agreed with me that the IUPAC definition is correct.
Wow.
I told him that you guys should change it.
Mm, mm.
What followed is something I didn't expect. He said, I fully agree. You submit a project to IUPAC and change it.
Wow. Mhm.
I wasn't ready for this. Then I found out IUPAC usually calls a committee to do some things.
Mm, yeah.
But that wasn't always working because the committee they will put the busy people in the area
Yeah.
and they will not want to spend time on this. Then IUPAC realized it's probably better to support individuals wanting to do something that
Something
IUPAC should do.
good.
So they are doing
It's
both.
always a better way to take
That's
things.
because, and I found out IUPAC already formed a committee to define hydrogen bond, which did not submit a report.
Oh, okay.
Then they said, and I asked them, how do I do? He said, you can collect a group of experts. It should not be your friends or collaborators,
Mm,
and discuss and come up with a recommendation. We'll give some funds for meeting and so on.
mm.
I took that word very seriously, so I didn't put any of my friends and collaborators.
Okay.
But Gautam Desiraj was in Hyderabad University.
Mm,
He had written a book on CHO hydrogen bond.
mm,
Steve Shiner was in Utah State University. He had written a book on hydrogen bonding, a theoretical perspective. That came around 97, 99. So I thought if I can put another Indian without people accusing me of
mm,
being parochial, Desiraj should be there.
mm,
I didn't know him at that time. I just sent him a mail saying that, dear Professor Desiraju, I wrote to IUPAC asking them to change the definition. They have asked me to do it. I think you
mm,
should be part of it. And he was happy and he agreed. But
mm.
some in Bengaluru are saying, don't put him, it's difficult. For me, he has done enormous work in
Yeah,
this field.
yeah. He is
All
one
that
of the
matters,
outstanding chemists we have in India. Yeah.
that's all that matters to me.
Exactly. Exactly.
I am not going to worry about personalities. Yeah, all of us have personalities.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I had a really good interaction with him. Finally, I had 14 members. Many told me, I don't think you'll have 14 people agreeing on this.
The on the definition of the.
Yeah. And the 14 did agree, and it was reviewed by 25 people. It was put on the web for 6 months, for any chemist from anywhere to comment.
Mm, mm,
And then I had comments from many, many sources. All of them had to be responded. It took time. Eventually, it was accepted.
mm,
And in fact, the last I checked, at least after 2011, if you look at the last decade,
mm.
probably the highest cited paper from IISc communicated from IISc.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have some collaborations. I don't know if it's still true. And that's been received very well.
Mm, mm.
And later on, we also found out carbon can do the same thing, like hydrogen bond. That's what we called as carbon bond. And carbon bond is, we were the first to propose that.
Mm, mm.
So it's been well received as well. In fact, there have been theses submitted using this concept in Canada and nice Bhubaneswar, many
Yeah.
places. So,
Yeah. Wonderful. That is actually a very important thing. Yeah.
but it took time, but it's worth. I have told all my students, don't rush to publish.
Mm,
Take big projects, do well. It's a difficult thing. Publications are important. In fact, I did my first student. I know this will take time, so I collaborated with aerospace engineers. He worked with shock tubes.
mm, mm.
So I realized the students have to get this. So you have to do. I think we have already close to 2 hours, I suppose.
No,
But
no. In fact, no problem. But as
I
long as you would, yeah.
maybe we should wind up in another 10, 15 minutes.
Yes, yes,
I,
sure, sure, sure.
the gas
No
may be
problem.
delivered in my home. There's nothing to go. I
No,
have to
no
go.
problem, no problem. We will then move to one of the important aspect, which I generally request my guests to speak about their work, motivation, and also something slightly more artistic aspect of their thought process in their mother tongue. And I know Arunan actually is deeply involved in Thirukkural, which is the Tamil poetry, very beautiful, very philosophical, and very rational. Although I don't speak Tamil, I do read some of the translation of this particular poetry, or whichever is available online. It's very deeply impressive, and I would urge others to also listen to this. But now I would request Arunan to talk in Tamil and give us an overview of what he is doing, motivation, and also some kurals for us. With
ஓகே.
good translation at the end.
நன்றி பவன். இப்போ தமிழில் பேசுகிறேன். திருக்குறளை பற்றி ஏற்கனவே பேசியிருக்கோம். நான் வந்து ஸ்கூலில் திருக்குறள் தமிழ் பாடத்தில் இருக்கும் அப்போ படித்தது தான். திருக்குறளை ஒரு புக்காக படிக்கல, இப்போ தான் படிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கேன். நம்ம பேசுனதுக்கு ஒரு குறள் சொல்கிறேன். கேடில் விழிச்செல்வம் கல்வி ஒருவருக்கு மாடல்ல மற்றையவை. இது வந்து திருவள்ளுவர் எழுதினது. Among all the wealth one can acquire, education is the most important thing. According to this குறள். So, இந்த எண்ணம் முதல்ல இருந்தே இருந்திருக்கு. அதுவும் திருக்குறள்ல வந்து வாழ்க்கைக்கு ஏற்ற மாதிரி பலதை சொல்லியிருக்காங்க. திருக்குறள் ஒரு குறள். இப்போ தமிழ்நாடு பாலிட்டிக்ஸை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா எப்பயுமே டிஃப்ரெண்ட். திருக்குறள்ல ஒரு குறள் என்ன சொல்லுதுன்னா, பிறப்புக்கும் எல்லா உயிர்க்கும் சிறப்புவா செய்தொழில் வேற்றுமையான். Translated, it says, by birth all are equal. The only difference is by what they really do in their life.
Absolutely.
இது வந்து ஐ மீன் 2000 வருடத்துக்கு மேல இருக்கும், 2000 years. 1774 or some year, Declaration of Independence by the US. So by birth all men are equal. In fact, Obama, when he took over, he removed men.
Yeah.
He misquoted the declaration.
Okay.
The second time he corrected. Thiruvalluvar வந்து by birth all are equal. He didn't say all men.
Wonderful.
Quran, it's always debated. Because if you look at our Vedas or Manu Dharma, Varnashram is there. And some do believe it, that by birth, this person should do only this thing. இந்த குறளை நான் பல இடங்களில் இன்னொரு குறள், இடிப்பாறை இல்லா ஏமரா மன்னன் கெடுப்பார் இல்லானும் கெடும். இந்த குறள், if a king does not have in his council of ministers or someone who can tell him that this is wrong, doesn't need any enemy.
It's already decaying.
Decay.
Wonderful.
லீடர்ஷிப்பை பற்றியே குறள் நிறைய வந்திருக்கு. இதனை இதனால் இவன் முடிக்கும் என்றாய்ந்து அதனை அவன் கண் விடல். When a leader is trying to assign something, they should understand this job can be done by this person because of this reason and ask that person to do. They should understand the team they have, who can do what, and choose. Many of these things are already there. In general, of course, Yuval Noah Harari's book on Sapiens, how horrible our past has been. Many of the religious scriptures and so on. Thirukkural, most of it is relevant today and it may be relevant forever. Having said that, let me tell you one thing that certainly doesn't look good now. இன்னொரு குறள்ல வள்ளுவர் என்ன சொல்றாருன்னா, தெய்வம் தொழால் கொலுனன் தொழுதலுவால் பெய்யென பெய்யும் மழை. இந்த குறள் வந்து how a wife should function. There's a chapter for how husband should function, one chapter for how wife should function, one chapter for how the family should live. Everything is there. இந்த குறள் வந்து தெய்வம் தொழால் கொலுனன் தொழுதலுவால் பெய்யென பெய்யும் மழை. A wife who does not pray to God but prays to her husband as God, when she demands rain, it will rain. Basically, you can say it's patriarchy.
Patriarchy. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, patriarchy was probably the norm during his days.
Mm. Mm.
I
No, I'm
just want
very glad. Arnold, this is something which is extremely important. You are giving a slightly kind of more rounded picture. If somebody wanted to just pick and choose, they could have just told only one part of it. I'm very, very glad that you're really highlighting this because I too was not aware of this. Yeah.
nothing. As I, as we already talked about, there
Mm.
is no reason to glorify anybody.
Absolutely right. There is no reason to glorify it.
Glorify anybody, and Thiruvallur on the whole heads off,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and Gandhi too.
Mm.
Of course, they all had their own whims and fancies.
Absolutely.
This
Absolutely.
is at that time he did write this. There are some quarrels I won't agree with today,
Mm. Mm.
but out of the 100, 1,330, be very few are like this. What I told you.
Mm. Mm.
Most of the others are good lessons for life.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. This is really, really fantastic. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Mhm. So
Upon maybe, yeah, go on.
you also have some plans to write about it. You had mentioned to
In
me.
fact, I have started writing one quarrel for my daughters every day.
Wonderful.
It's been translated, and there are books explaining it, many,
Mm.
many. And one thing I feel bad is that I wish I had communicated more to me. When they were young, I used to talk a lot. I used to tell stories, many things.
Mm. Mm.
But as they grew up, when they became teenagers and beyond, they were busy in school. I was busy. I
Mm.
didn't have as much interactions. I see that it would have been better if I had it.
Absolutely,
You
absolutely.
can't
In
go
fact,
back in time. So
in
I
fact,
thought,
there is now kind of an understanding or kind of new understanding that children can and should probably get exposed to a little bit of philosophical thought because they are capable of appreciating it.
certainly, it's
Yeah,
always needed.
yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely. Great. This has been one of the wonderful conversations I have had. I am sure this is also an initiation of some kind of conversation, which we're going to go and probably build
Yes,
on. Hopefully, I would request you to also come back and maybe expand on some of the things what we have already discussed.
certainly. We weren't planning anything, just random.
Exactly, random. That's the whole point about Pratidwani. To be very frank, in fact,
Okay, good.
that's something which is kind of random walk through intellectual space, so to speak. In a way.
Thanks very much, Pawan. I
Yeah,
really appreciate talking to you. I read what you write. I'm very glad. Very few are willing to spend the extra time.
yeah, yeah. No, I've
Just
I've actually taken motivation from people like you. I'm ardently follow your blogs and also your writings and other
it's
things.
important
Yeah.
to do this.
Yeah, yeah, true, true. Absolutely right. So I once again thank you very much, Arunan, for
Thanks very much,
spending
Pawan. It's
this.
been a real
Yeah,
joy for me as well.
yeah, it's my pleasure. It's
Yes.
absolutely my pleasure. It's absolutely my pleasure.